I don't know, Ben. Look at. Hey, Ben. Look at the tan he's got. The guy next to you. Yeah, he must be laying on the beach all day.
Just so you know.
What do you have to do to turn this on?
Jimmy will get it.
What?
These are my resolutions, right? I saw that.
Somebody sent me an email yesterday for a book cover test.
Okay. You ready? Jimmy, did you start the camera?
No.
And the microphone?
I got
is on?
everything.
Mike's on?
I got the other side.
Press. That's it?
Oh, I know.
He's got to put it right on the camera. Wanna do it?
Is it running? Just start it.
Oh, just start it? Thanks. And then the end.
Press the red button.
First one,
We'll get that at the end. I'm not worried about that. Yeah. Okay, we'd like to get the meeting started if we could. Ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You yell at Michael all the time.
I want to welcome everybody, and we're going to move right into the meeting. And I'd ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Supervisor Sweet?
Here.
Councilman Gerstner?
Here.
Councilman Schuback?
Here.
Councilman D'Angelo?
Here.
Attorney Myro?
Here.
DPW Commissioner Astorino? Here. Police Lieutenant Rader?
Thank you. So I need a motion to accept the minutes of the public hearing on May 13th and the regular meeting of May 13th.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Correspondence is summarized on pages 1, 2, and 3. One piece of correspondence was issued earlier indicating that a had presented the board. He actually clarified that he had concerns about it, so he wanted that read on the record. I don't have any discussion of any of the rest. Does anyone else?
No, not right now.
Okay. Boards and commissions, we have the chairman of the Friendly Visitor Program. Vince, do you have a report?
Yes, I do, Mr. Supervisor. I'll open the press, you have your copy.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, this report just came in today, and it seems that the numbers in the first four columns have all been increased quite a bit. It seems that the program is exceeding expectations, and probably will have a bigger percent at the end of the year of all these numbers than we had last year, of course, because of the virus. But comparing them to 2019, I think we'll probably be anywhere between 10 to 15% more in activity with these numbers than we had before. Right now, we have about 155 people that are in the program as neighbors, and we have about only 59 volunteers. We need more volunteers in the program. At one time, we had about 70. And because of the virus, some of the volunteers stepped back. And it seems everyone's coming back except the volunteers. There seems to be still a low amount of volunteers. So we're gonna have some volunteer training, Thursday, June 24th at 5:30, July 13th at 6 p.m., and July 29th at 10 a.m. They're all on Zoom. It's a 90-minute training, and it'll probably work out pretty good. If anyone here in the audience wants to become a volunteer, you can call 986-1124, extension, and also for the program itself. Leave your name, your phone number, and the services that you require. And if you want to become the volunteer training list, just leave that message for the coordinator, and she'll relay it to the trainer who is training. That's all I have, Mr. Supervisor.
Well, thank you, and I know you're stepping down as chairman. I want to thank you for that service. Any resident that isn't aware, this is a program free to seniors in the town. The idea is to try to help them remain in their home, and volunteers are paired up to do simple services for them, perhaps take them to a medical appointment or do some shopping, or even just simply visit. So if you know of a senior that could use that service, call the number 986-1120, extension 400, and we'll try to pair you up. And again, it's no cost to the senior at all. And all of the volunteers are vetted and insured. So the senior can feel comfortable with them if they're allowing them to come into their home. So it's a great service, and we'd like to see it grow even more than it has. Thank you, Vince.
You're welcome.
Let's move into reports from the council, and let me hear from Councilman D'Angelo, please.
Okay, for the month of May 2021, the following calls came through the police department. In the town outside of Greenwood Lake, there was 117. In Greenwood Lake proper, there's 476. In Pine Island, 242. The village of Warwick was 400. And the Greenwood Lake Ambulance Corps had 56 calls, for a total for the month of May of 1,291. There's an update on the, as far as the Humane Society goes, there's an update on the shelter rebuild project. They're awaiting their bids from the contractors to find out what the actual goal will be. They should have that number by the end of July. However, currently they have about $1.4 million, leaving them about $300,000 short of the anticipated amount. So they need donations from the public to meet that. Now, what they're adding is they're adding much needed ventilation, 9 additional kennels, as well as isolation, staff adoption, and meet and greet programs, which are lacking currently. And they're asking for your donations. Now, they're having a celebration of Lee Patterson's life. Lee Patterson was a very important person in the society. You might have seen her on, for example, anytime they had anything going in Warwick, any kind of a celebration, she was there selling chances, raising money for the Humane Society. They're having a celebration on July 11th at 1 to 3 p.m. at the Landmark Inn. And according to Susan Barron, they're going to sip wine, have a glass of beer, nibble on Lee's favorite treats, and share the stories of her life and love of all creatures, great and small. And you can RSVP. The public's invited, anybody who supports the society. You RSVP by June 20th, 2021 by calling the shelter at 986-2473. The current shelter residence is 12 dogs, 38 cats, 28 kittens, 7 rabbits, and 1 guinea pig. And they're all looking for permanent homes. And that's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. Councilman Gershner.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First, I'd like to thank all the residents and participants that participated in the town for the Memorial Day services. Thank you for all coming out, for those that gave their all. Lastly, on correspondence, Mike Sapola, our Recreation Commission chairperson, since I've been on the board, he was the second one. He's been with us over about 20 years. I think he started like in 2001. Judy Wilbur was doing it. So we're actively seeking a resident who'd like to serve on the Recreation Commission and be chairperson, to help us with coordinating the fields. We have the organized sports leagues, and we also deal with all the village recreation programs and our one town recreation program that's in Pine Island. So Michael's been a great asset, and he's done a heck of a job, and I thank him for all his hard work and efforts. I apologize, we were trying to work on getting a meeting with the villages for the summer rec, but that, with the things that Mike's letter came to us going on, we just weren't able to do that. So we're still going to try to get that done. But again, we're seeking a resident to help us out with the Recreation Commission. Now we have, and also we have Cuts Camp coming on board, and so not saying there's not going to be a lot of work. It's going to be busy. So if anybody has the time, we'd appreciate anybody getting a hold of the supervisor and putting their name in. And that's my report. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilman Schuback.
DPW replaced culvert pipe on 177 Newport Bridge Road, State School Road, and Fencer Road. Catch basin, scenic Pond Drive, clean ditches, Amity, Newport Bridge, Franklin Hill, mown townwide, pothole filled townwide, vehicle emergency maintenance as needed, road sign as needed, and there's only 1/4 inch stone to the stockpile. That's all for now.
All right, thank you. Attorney Myro. Town Clerk's report.
Okay, the fees collected for May of 2021 were $19,324.26, and the fees paid out were $2,990.05. And that's all I have. Except, wait a minute, early voting starts Saturday.
Correct, and
Remind
it goes
everybody.
for
If
9?
you're not sure of, yes, it goes for the 2 weeks. If you're not sure of the times, you can check, the website, and you can go on Orange County.
www.orangecountygov.com. Go to departments under Board of Elections, and that has all the information. And there's 5 sites open for early voting. You can vote at any one of the sites. In Warwick, we'll have a working families primary and a legislative primary for Republicans for certain districts. But that's all listed on the county website. That's the safest place to go.
Right, so the only primaries are the Republican primary for the districts 6, 9, 21, 26, and 29, which are a portion from Belleville, Wickham Village out that way for that
Florida,
legislator,
right, through
the
Florida.
county. So if you're not in those areas, you do not get to vote unless you are a Working Families Party member, and then you do have a primary as well for justice in the town of Warwick. Otherwise, you do not get to vote in this primary election. It is 9 days, I believe, up to the primary day, which is the 20th.
Well, so it starts Saturday and goes in 9 days, and it's various times, so it's best to go on the website to get the times. I believe it's 10 to 5, I think.
There's all kinds of different hours. It's very
Saturday
confusing.
might be 10 to 5.
Probably on purpose,
Yeah,
so check it out.
Yeah, it's out on the website, it's the best place to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor report. So because of COVID, we're not able to hold the Too Good to Toss event, which is normally held in 2 days in Stanley Deming Park. But the creators of that felt like they wanted to try to have some form of it. So they called it a modified Too Good to Toss, which is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. You had to pre-register. You may still be able to if you go to the town's web Facebook page. And you would get a sign to put out by your driveway. You're doing it essentially in your end of your driveway. You can't charge for anything. People can come and take things that are too good to toss, right? So we hope that it's successful. I know they have a bunch of people signed up. The Juneteenth holiday, which is now a state holiday in New York, is on June 19th. And I know there is an event called the Power Project, which will be down on Railroad Green in the Village from, I believe it's 11 to 3 p.m. that day. So if you're interested, you can attend that. And the Community Preservation Fund, which is our fund that helps us preserve over 4,400 acres so far in the town of Warwick from development, that continues to be actively farmed, adds to the beauty of our valley. The receipts for the month of May were $136,246.50, which is a good above average amount. It's an indication of a hot real estate market, people wanting to come to our beautiful community. The total in the fund currently is $4,773,000, $474.39. So again, bodes well for future preservation of Warwick. I made all the journal entries. I confirmed them that the controller had made for this month, and they were all in order. So that was a double check on that. And then I was handed today, if you haven't seen it, there was a really great article on Warwick published today in the New York Times that talks about the hidden gem in the Hudson Valley. And I think we know it's a hidden gem, but I guess now more people do. So we'll see what that brings. It's a good thing we have a preservation fund, is all I can tell you. That's the end of my report, except that I do try to publish comments in the dispatch, and hope that you take some time to look at that. So I'd like to, at this point in time, open privilege of the floor. What I'm going to need people to do is try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Please come to the podium, state your name clearly so the clerk can get it. And I ask everyone to please be polite and tolerant of everyone. And if we can keep, the applause and stuff down, that would be helpful as well. So whoever would like to speak first, come up.
It's on the
Okay.
agenda items. On anything on the agenda, right?
It's on the agenda. There is on the agenda, correct. Let me preface before the comments, let me just preface that the town board was sent a resolution by a group of Warwick residents. That resolution was not one that the town board wanted to pass. We will listen to comments about it, but we do not intend to pass that resolution this evening. We do have a resolution that talks about, I think, the values that I think most of us believe in here in Warwick, and that will be one that would be entertained later on.
And
So-
Supervisor, thank you
Yep,
very
so
much.
your
I'm
name.
just wondering, yes, Joan Turrell. I was just wondering, sir, if that resolution is able to be seen by the residents, the one that you guys have crafted?
Yes, it will be. I mean,
Oh, not tonight, though, okay.
Perhaps
All
I
right.
should, perhaps maybe what we'll do is, why don't you hold your comments, all right? Have a seat. We're going to move into business. We'll do it a little differently, all right? We're going to do our business. I will then read you the resolution, and then we will take comments. Is that fair? Sure. Perfect. So let's go to the first one. I need a motion to schedule a public hearing.
Motion to adopt a resolution to schedule a public hearing concerning the renewal of Cablevision of Warwick LLC franchise in the town of Warwick on Thursday, June 24th, 2021, at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
Second.
All interested persons will be given the opportunity to be heard.
Second.
Okay, for discussion. So we have a cable franchise, Cablevision. Some people hate them, some people
Altice.
like them. Altice. The reality is they are the cable provider here. They have an agreement. It's a 10-year agreement. It expired. It stays in effect according to PSC rules until it's renewed. We had several issues that reached us during COVID. Obviously, more people being home, trying to use access to get out. PSC does not allow the municipality to regulate internet service in a cable franchise. The only thing we regulate is cable TV. We've been fortunate in Warwick because we had other options than cable, and now we actually have more options. We had Warwick Telephone for a while. Now you can do, through the internet, almost anything, right? So we brought the dissatisfaction of our residents for internet to Cablevision in the time of our negotiation to renew their franchise. You could not renew their franchise, but the PSC said to us, because I inquired about it, that was one option. If you don't renew it, you have two options. You buy it, you buy their structure, their infrastructure, millions and millions of dollars, or you find another franchisee that wants to come in. PSC said no other franchisee is going to come into a territory and pay for the infrastructure that's there. So we negotiated the best that we could with Cablevision. I think we have a fair agreement. They are contributing $25,000 to the town for us to upgrade our video equipment, which is somewhat antiquated at this point in time, to reach residents more readily. So there will be a hearing scheduled, as we just mentioned, on June 24th. If you have an interest, come at 7 p.m. and you can express that interest. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion on a resignation.
Motion to adopt the resolution to accept the resignation of Mike Sepola from the Town of Warwick Recreation Committee as chairman effective immediately.
Second?
With regrets, all in
With
favor?
regrets. Aye,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We thank Mike.
yes.
Motion to appoint a part-time dispatcher.
Motion to adopt a resolution to appoint Alexa T. Roach as a part-time police dispatcher at a rate of pay of $17 per hour, effective June 12, 2021, as per recommendation letter dated June 7, 2021, from the police chief.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion on another appointment.
Motion to adopt a resolution to appoint Ryan J. King as a part-time police dispatcher at a rate of pay of $17 per hour, effective June 12, 2021, as per recommendations letter dated June 7, 2021, from the police chief.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I make a motion to adopt a resolution appointing the following to various Pine Island recreation positions for the 2021 season. Tyrek Bradford as a counselor at $11.10. Matthew Doherty, counselor at $10. Jesse Hazard, counselor at $11.10. Sidney Johnson McCormick, counselor at $10 per hour. Elisa Madura, counselor at $10 an hour. Gabriella Mastrantoni, counselor at $10 an hour. Robert Maslanka, counselor at $11.10. Daniel Rodriguez, counselor at $11.10. Luke Rodriguez, counselor at $11.10. And Tyler Rodriguez as the medical director at $18. Nancy Scheinert, program director at $25
Second.
an hour. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I would now take a motion to accept the resignation.
Motion to adopt the resolution accepting the resignation of part-time police dispatcher, Isaac Vasquez, effective June 8, 2021.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank him for his service.
yes.
I would make a motion to adopt a resolution to schedule a public hearing entitled Acquisition of Development Rights of Certain Real Properties in the Town of Warwick, known as 46 Belcher Road, SBL 33-1-21. Said public hearing to be held at 7:15 p.m. on June 24th, 2021, or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
Second?
All interested persons will be given the opportunity to be heard.
Second?
So part of the process of acquiring development rights is that we have to have a hearing. This farm is a 200-acre farm, a beautiful farm in the town of Warwick. It is in our community preservation plan, which is a requirement for us to acquire those development rights. So that hearing will be held again on June 24th, right after the Cablevision one. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion on an appointment.
Motion to adopt a resolution to appoint Diana Huntington as Town of Warwick Animal Control Officer for 2021.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion to appoint a committee member.
Motion to adopt a resolution to appoint Brendan Wagner to the Town of Warwick Shade Tree Committee for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion?
We thank him.
welcome,
Yes,
Brendan
welcome and thank him.
and his expertise.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. A motion to pay the duly audited bills.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to read you a resolution, introduce it to the board. It reads as follows. Whereas Governor Andrew Cuomo and the New York State Legislature have declared Juneteenth a public holiday, which will commemorate the end of slavery in America, and will also be a day to celebrate Black and African American achievements. And whereas the Town of Warwick takes pride in the diversity and richness of the cultures that have found homes here in our valley, and whereas the Town of Warwick recognizes that there are injustices perpetrated by individuals with racial prejudice and malicious intent, targeting people of color, and that there is a need to respond to these injustices and struggles wherever they exist. Whereas the Town Board recognizes that racism is a concern in all communities, and we will continue to ensure that diversity is a major consideration in all our policies and procedures. Whereas the Town of Warwick stands with peaceful protesters, demonstrating their commitment to ending intolerance and inequality. Whereas the Town of Warwick recognizes the importance of the right to free speech and demonstration as essential to our nation's identity, and gives our unwavering support to the fight against racism and hatred. And whereas we recognize that as a nation, we must commit ourselves to equality for all people, regardless of race, age, gender, expression, economic status, ability, or religious beliefs. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town of Warwick recognizes the importance of actively opposing all forms of inequality, whether race, gender, or age, and the need to support meaningful actions to extinguish racism, hatred, and violence wherever it is found. And be it further resolved that the town recognizes June 19, 2021 as Juneteenth Day in the Town of Warwick, and reaffirms our commitment to liberty, fairness, equality, and justice for all. The clerk of the Town of Warwick is hereby directed to send the copies to the governor, the majority and minority leaders of the New York State Legislature, and to our Senator Mike Matucci and Assemblyman Carl Bravenick.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so it would be discussion point, and at this point I would take public comment. I think, Ms. Terrell, you had the first, so if you'd come forward, please. We're going to try to keep this to 3 minutes each if we can, please.
Okay, then I will speak very quickly
Thank
so
you.
that I don't get the gong.
Appreciate that.
First of all, good evening. I am Joan Terrell. Hello, neighbors. Hello, board and Supervisor Sweeten. Thank you for allowing me to make comment tonight. Obviously, I was one of the sponsors of the original Black Lives
Could you
Matter.
just
Some-
speak to us?
Yes, I'm
Just
sorry.
us.
Some of the language, of course, is incorporated in your resolution. And although I feel very strongly about incorporating Black Lives Matter, I realize that this evening in your resolution is a step forward. Black Lives Matter has been called a radical fringe movement. I would suggest it's not, that BLM shares the goals of the great racial justice movements of the past, from abolitionist civil rights movement dedicated to equal justice through elimination of systemic racism. A 2020 Harvard Radcliffe study of 7,305 Black Lives Matter events around our nation shows that 96.3% of those events had no property damage connected to them, 97.9% no injuries. Where there was vandalism, it was shown to most often involve not the BLM protesters, but others looting or vandalizing alongside peaceful protesters. And BLM's inclusive of all people. I, too, am Black Lives Matter, a white, suburban, middle-aged wife and mother who's lived in Warwick for 20 years. I, like millions of other Americans, have watched with concern the injustices caused by systems of racial oppression that continue to really harm and traumatize our black citizens. It's very important for us to identify and reform those systems so that a more just and equitable future is achieved for all. How did we get here? Each of us was born into an efficiently designed system of structural racism. We didn't create it, we inherited it. But from birth, depending on your skin color, each of us has been marked with biases, burdens,
Quiet,
or the
please.
privileges assigned to our racial identity through history's biased lens. And if you don't believe that the cultural deck has been heavily stacked against black people, then I ask everybody here tonight to honestly consider the following questions. All things being as they are in your life now, would you be willing to trade your white skin for black to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do?
Please, please. All right, hang on.
I can answer it for
Please.
myself.
Please.
Excuse me.
Well, I'll-
Hey, attention, please. Please.
Listen,
We'll
this meeting is conducted by rules of order, and you're going to get to speak, and you're going to get to speak without interrupting the way you are now. If you want the privilege of speaking, you will give the privilege of others to speak too, without being interrupted. That's how this meeting's going to be conducted.
I can answer for myself that I wouldn't want to trade my skin color. And this systemic racism came to our shores in 1526 with the first enslaved Africans, and it has lingered in powerful systemic biases. Now, the fact we inherited it means we didn't create the problem, but we don't get a pass in our own lifetimes from a duty to at least understand more fully the painful history of injustice against people of color, and to acknowledge problems exist and to take steps to acknowledge it and to correct the wrongs. And in this way, Black Lives Matter is not anti-white. It's not radical. It's peaceful, multiracial, and a movement dedicated to equality and justice for all, not just some. It works for the equal application of our constitutional rights and protections, and to black people as well as to white, and is therefore humane, pro-democracy, patriotic. Black Lives Matter is not anti-blue lives. It is anti-racist. Blue lives refers symbolically to a respected uniform and a respected career that's freely chosen, not a skin color. There's no equivalency. Black Lives Matter asks no one else to give up their rights. It demands that black lives be accorded the same rights, opportunities, and protections as white lives. And where is there evidence of this? There are statistics that go to poverty rates, that go to death rates. Maternal rates of death are 3 times higher for black women. Home ownership, 44% to 73% for white people. And we have these microaggressions and major aggressions in every town and city. When I moved to Warwick, I was shown homes to buy, and I was told right off the bat, I'm going to identify for you a place where you don't want to live, where the black people live in our town. Now, that isn't everybody, or no?
Come on, stop.
Come on, please.
Stop. Hey, stop. Hey, we'll just shut it down. We'll just stop.
I'm just going to-
stop. Let her finish.
I'm
and you'll
going to
have
say
do
that
whatever you
there
say.
are other examples, but I won't spend time tonight. Systemic racism looks and sounds like that. We live in a beautiful town, as the supervisor said, but we love this town, and I would love to see it address this. We must stop asking black citizens to provide more proof of this. It's time to listen, believe their stories, respect their experiences, honor their pain, and we must do so even if it makes us feel uncomfortable and challenges our own assumptions. And I'm white, and I've been uncomfortable, and it's challenged my assumptions. And then we can do our part. So this resolution, and your attention paid to it, is an opportunity to express unity of purpose with all your citizens to become aware and responsive to issues of systemic racism. And in ending, I quote the black poet, author Maya Angelou, who gave us a roadmap to progress when she said, quote, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. Tonight's our chance to do better. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks for your comments. Who'd like to go next? Yes, in the back.
Mike, how are you going to keep track of time on this?
Yeah, I'm watching. I'm trying to watch.
If you're reading from written comments and you can't finish within 3 minutes, you can submit your written comments, but keep it to 3 minutes as best you can, please.
But you just said President, you should get over 5 minutes.
All right, listen. We're gonna listen. Hold on a
the board's
second.
running
Hold
the
on,
rule-
Jay.
this is-
Jay.
Supervisor.
Hold on a second. All right. We're gonna try to have people speak. Somebody may go 4 minutes. Somebody may do 2 minutes. All right. Just relax. You'll get your opportunity. Okay. This is your name, so we have it.
Patricia McMillan,
Right.
Supervisor Sweeten, council members, town clerk, town attorney, thank you for the time. Myself, Joan Terrell, and 18 other residents of Warwick submitted a resolution in support of Black Lives Matter. The hope was that our town leaders, all of you, would take a bold stand in support of Black and brown residents, even though our numbers are not in the majority in Warwick. Black Lives Matter is not a terrorist or violent movement. Like many movements, some associated with the movement and others pretending to be have committed inappropriate acts. Painting a broad brush that the movement is other than an attempt to seek equal treatment for Black and brown people is simply wrong. Those who assert otherwise, I ask that you do the work, research what Black Lives Matter is, and not believe the extensive amount of misinformation that exists. Most of us have computers and smartphones, and we have an award-winning library in this beautiful town of ours, Warwick. Supporters of Black Lives Movement want people to understand that systemic racism continues to result in Black and brown people being disproportionately harmed. Some statistics. As Joan alluded to, the US population is 61% white and 13.4% Black. In Warwick, at least at our last census, it's about 93% white, 2% Black, 2 to 3% Latin. And yet, in this country, the poverty rate has white people at 8.7, Black at 21.2. The Federal Reserve reports that white families possess 10 times the wealth of Black families. Deaths by law enforcement. Black men are 2.5 times more likely to die at the hands of police than white men. The incarceration rates. I have numbers, but if you consider that they're almost equal, 436,500 for white and 475,900 for Blacks, compared to the statistics of our population, you can see it's disproportionate. Home ownership, 73.7% white, 44% Black. The median family income, 68,000 plus for whites, 40,000 plus for Blacks. And Black women die in childbirth at 3 times the rate of white women. Black men die an average of 4.5 years earlier than white men. Black women die an average of 3 years earlier than white women. US graduation rates are 10% lower for Black students than whites. 4-year college graduation rates are 64% for whites and 40% for Blacks. And school suspensions disproportionately fall on Black students. Black girls are 6 times more likely to receive an out-of-school suspension than their white classmates for the same infractions. So we can debate the percentage points and the research methods, but the fact remains that Black and brown people suffer due to the racist policies that persist in our institutions. For the town to affirm its commitment to reject racism and intolerance is noteworthy, and we appreciate it. Those of us who submitted the Black Lives Matter resolution ask for you, our leaders, to take a step further, to actively listen and hear our fellow Black and brown residents when they say racism exists, and they have or are currently being harmed by it, despite those white, Black, or brown voices who choose to ignore and deny our experiences. We ask that you, our leaders, support our resolution in support of Black lives, because we're not asking for more than anyone else, simply to be equal, to be treated with respect, to be listened to. And finally, to those who say all lives matter, again, I strongly urge you to do the research, see the statistics that prove otherwise. The hope is that one day all lives will matter, but they don't currently now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Somebody in the back with a big hand up. Wait, no, you got to wait your turn, but yes, you will. We'll ask for people that want to speak. Okay?
So I have a lot to say, but I know I only have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Although
Could you give
other
us your-
people took longer.
Could you give us your name?
Heidi Carnevali.
Can you spell that last name?
Carnevali.
Thank you.
And I want to address.
No, you got to talk.
Just
Oh,
gotta
okay.
address the board.
Well, first I'd like to say that I don't have white privilege, okay? And that's a label and a propaganda that the Black Lives Matter put on people to try to make them feel guilty about the color of their skin, yet they don't want people talking about the color of their skin. But yet they do it to, they do it to us. So it's like, you know, you're asking for something, but you're creating a lot of problems because you're stereotyping white people in a category which is absolutely outrageous because I didn't have white privilege. I grew up very poor, okay? And the fact that I'm being labeled because of the color of my skin is racist in itself. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I worked my butt off since I was 8 years old, and nothing was handed to me ever in my life. And I will never apologize for the color of my skin or who I am. I'm proud of who I am, and then I'm an American.
Can we, yes, ma'am. Can you come forward and give us your name, please?
Hello, my
Hi.
name is Camila Mamani.
Can you spell the last name?
What?
Spell your last name, please.
M as in Mary, A, M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, I.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. So, I think it's I think what the problem is with Black Lives Matter is what it represents, the organization, more than actually the statement. I think the statement is, yeah, it is important. Black Lives Matter, like white lives matter, like brown lives matter, like whatever other kind of people lives matter. So one of the things that I find controversial, because they say that it's something good, the organization, yes, it wants to do good things, but sadly they are not doing it. And I found all these articles in the news that I want to read. So, yeah, one of the news articles says Black Lives Matter co-founder describes herself as a trained Marxist. This is by the New York Post. And even it's a video of her saying, the first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideology frame. Myself and Alicia, who is the other co-founder, Alicia Garza, in particular, are trainer organizers, and she's referring, well, to BLM co-founder Alicia Garza. We're trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories, and I think that we really try to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many, many black folks. While promoting her book, When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir in 2018, Cullors described her introduction to and support of her Marxist ideology. So that's one. Then, yeah, that's another thing. Since when is being a communist a good thing? Communist is ideology that killed a lot of people in Cuba, in China, in a lot of other countries. Myself, I'm a Latina from Argentina.
Keep it down in the back, please, so we can get this.
So then another thing is Tamika Palmer, mother of Breonna Taylor. She slammed Black Lives Matter chapter as a fraud in a remove social media post. She say, I have never personally dealt with BLM Louisville and personally have found them to be a fraud. A state repo. I don't know what it's meant. Atika Scott, another fraud. Tamika Palmer wrote on Facebook. So that's one. She said, I watched you all raise money on behalf of Breonna's family who has never done a damn thing for us. Talk about Breonna's family who don't even know who I am. I'm so sick of some of you all. I'm done with this. Enough is enough. Then mothers criticize BLM activists for profiting of their dead sons. Grief-stricken mothers who have accused Black Lives Matter of profiting from the death of their sons condemned the group's embattled co-founder Patrice Cullor after she announced she was stepping down from the movement. While she's only saying that to get the heat off her right now. Then
Did you try to finish up, ma'am?
And like I said, you can submit that to us also if you like.
well, then another thing, BLM aggressive tactics and rhetoric have led to attacks on Jews. That's another controversial topic. BLM leaders black families. The ugly truth is the group's leaders don't care about black families. Fallin, he said, he was founder of the St. Paul chapter of the group in 2015, said he left after just 2 years when he realized BLM leaders were issuing statements against teachers' union and even the nuclear family structure. Turner released a video Wednesday last week that described falling out with BLM for not caring about improving the quality of education for students across the state. So,
Could you
yes.
submit that to us and then
Yes.
finish up? That would be great.
Yeah, yes. And yes, it's sorry. And they have been taking advantage of this movement, which it is important. It's a nice message. It's a good. I bet it is good intentions, but sadly, these people is not doing the right thing. And I think that is the controversial thing between BLM and I would love if the town of Guadalupe get united. I mean, I just arrived here like 2 years ago, and all I see is division. I participate in a group that the name is BIPOC Alliance for Warwick. I see the messages is full of hate. And it's sad. People calling out names of other people, telling them, they just literally call the police and the firefighters Nazis. I'm not inventing this. I would love to see some unity, but I don't know if we can ever get to that point if these people do not bend a little, because we are not all like that.
All right, thank you. Could you hand me that?
Yes.
Mind if I keep this? Is that all right? Is it okay if I keep this? And I just want to, again, I just want to remind everybody that we are not entertaining that original resolution, just so we know. Okay, yes, Dooney, come forward, please. Could you give us your name for the record, please?
Tuni Leshinsky, Leshinski, and good
Thank you.
evening, everyone. This is a letter I wrote to Supervisor Sweeten, so I'd just like to read it out real quick. Dear Supervisor Sweeten, Patricia McMillan and Joan Terrell are asking the people in the governing authority of the town of Warwick to declare that the governing bodies and residents believe, which I am guessing would mean it would be fact, that systemic racism is a real and present concern in all of our communities. My first question is, what is their definition of systemic racism, and could they please give us examples of it in our communities? I would also like to hear from you, which was Supervisor Sweeten, and your examples of systemic racism in the town of Warwick, so I can have a better understanding of this declaration, which they are requesting to be passed in a very short window of time. This resolution states that it is in support of Black lives, which seems to exclude any person of a different race or color who may feel it relevant to them. I would suggest that in this declaration, if passed and however worded, be renamed the All Lives Matter Declaration, as we strive to see fairness and support for everyone. I also hope we take every possible chance we get to unite and bring us all closer to a common ground. And that was my letter. And I just want to say you can't cure racism with more racism. Thank you so much.
You actually stayed under 3 minutes, so congratulations. Congratulations. Is there anyone else that would like to speak this evening? Yes, come on forward. Yeah. Just give us your name for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Carmela Lopez Barrazas.
Can you spell that?
Lopez.
I got that.
Barrazas, B as a boy, O-R-R-A, C as zebra, A-S. I've been living in Warwick for 3 years, and in the past year and a half, all I have experienced, you know, coming from a group in town, very small group in town, is hate. It's pretty funny because they label themselves as, you know, the love group. We're spreading the love. We're the unity group. We're defending the people of color. That is a lie. It's a lie, 100% a lie. What they're doing is they're bringing the narrative of Black Lives Matter, who is a terrorist organization, into our town. When you look at the data, you know, the numbers that they share, none of them are from Warwick. None of them are from Warwick whatsoever. There has not been one complaint about the police department in Warwick being racist. There has not been any complaints publicly filed of any officials in Warwick being racist. I have plenty of people of color in my French list in Warwick. This narrative actually has made them even more of a target for those that are haters. You know, we're not going to fix this problem by dividing our town. Those two women that just spoke, they're not good neighbors. They're not good people. Patricia McMillan called the fire department.
Let's keep it.
You know,
She's a public figure. She's, you know, she represents.
Please, it's not productive, as you said. Let's.
One of the ladies that spoke, just spoke, it's one of the leaders of the Democratic Party in Warwick. She called the volunteer fire department, Raymond Ho's company, racist, because they put up a sign last summer saying that they support law because now they're afraid that the fire department might not attend to a call. They're calling our fire department racist. They're calling anybody who speaks against them racist. My question is, why are you bringing a problem that is not existent in Warwick? There's racism everywhere, and it has nothing to do with the global and general idea of a town or of a government or anything. Individuals are racist. Why are you creating this hate and this division in our town? I moved here to raise my daughter because I thought that Warwick was a lovely, beautiful town. I had to leave my house in the village twice because I was scared that anything was going to happen, that the businesses were going to destroy, because my friends have experienced it in the city. And I know of people that were calling for chaos to happen in Warwick. I had to leave the town that I picked to raise my 3-year-old daughter because of this hateful, divisive narrative. I am fed up. I will sit with anyone to finish this and end this. I will speak with anyone to get to a conclusion, and if there's a problem, which, like I said, speaking to my friends of color that live in the town of Warwick, the town of Warwick is not racist. 18 people signed this resolution. 18 people mean 0.0036% of the population of Warwick. 18 people don't get to decide if we are racist as a town or not. I am sorry that as officials, and I don't care that you're Republicans, I don't care where you are from, what you think, what you support, as long as it doesn't affect anyone. We continuously waste our time with things like this. I have a volunteer group that caters for veterans and first responders that have PTSD and they're suicidal, and there's plenty of them in Warwick. If you have free time, help. There's a senior group citizen there that needs help. Volunteer for that. Use your time for something that is valuable, not for dividing us. You're not being good neighbors.
Address us.
Thank you. I
Just
appreciate
address
it.
us.
Someone else would like to speak this evening? Yes, Matt? Give the clerk your name, please.
My name is Matthew Sullivan. I live in the town of Warwick. I want to thank the board for having the hearing here tonight in reference to this topic. And I'm here to support the board in their decision and their statement that they'd like to make. So I thought it was a reasonable compromise given the situation. First, I want to say that certainly there's no racism, systematic racism in this town, and certainly not in this country. Never mind the town, not in the country. Please. A system takes a unified group of people to create a system and carry out a system. There is no such group of people in this country. Look, I think we got to remember we're all one big family, okay? The whole country, everybody in this town, we're one family. We all mean well. The two ladies that spoke before, I'm glad they had their say, okay? I would like everyone to hear what they've got to say, and I think it's a great opportunity to learn what they believe. And I think they mean very well. And I think we have to remember that we have to love each other and not get involved with a lot of hatred, okay? But what we're seeing is I don't call them Black Lives Matter, I call them the BLM. They're a communist organization. Communism is an anathema to the United States of America. It's an anathema, which means that is completely opposite. It's completely opposite of liberty and freedom. We must do everything to keep it out. But you know, it's really not about racism at all. You guys made the right decision. This is not about racism. Racism is being used as a club to divide us, and that's all it's being used for. You know, there is a system going on here, though, and it is hurting our black brothers and sisters terribly, okay? I believe a lot of statistics that second lady spoke had to say. I think a lot of those statistics are true, but those statistics do not prove racism. What it does prove is that there are people in this country, predominantly in the media and in government and in the blue states and cities in this country, that are using our black brothers and sisters to gain power, period. That's what it's all about. And you guys made the right decision. I just hope that everybody sees it for what it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
We just gave your name.
James Onembo,
Can you spell the last name?
Onembo.
O-N-B?
Onembo. There is a problem in our country, there's no doubt about it. There's inequities, there's no doubt about it. The basic root of it, without a doubt, is the lack of education and the slaves that some of our citizens are held to schools that do not educate them. There's no way that they can take part in the benefits of this country without a good education. So instead of getting down and calling your neighbors racist, go to your congressman, go to your senator, and demand vouchers for low-income families so they can put their kids in schools. That's what this is about, education.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Brian?
Good evening. My name is Brian Gillen, Gillen. I've been a member of the Warwick Volunteer Fire Department for 25 years. In that time, I've been to hundreds of accidents, very serious accidents, and serious emergencies. I've seen firsthand the Warwick Police Department, the New York State Police, act totally professional all the time, including Lieutenant Rader right here. I've seen him many times. I was the one who put that sign up at the fire, so I'm the bad guy. My sign said, "We support the police, stand for our flag, and kneel for God." Okay? And okay, I looked up on the website. BLM just changed their website. If you go to the different sites, they changed it about a month and a half ago. The original site told what they really believe in: Marxist, overthrow of our present form of government, reparations, violence if necessary, and teach critical race theory. And they're teaching it right now in Warwick. School is prepared to do that right now, too. Okay? They are anti-American. This is what I believe. They're anti-American flag, anti-police, anti-whites, especially those evil white guys like me, and anti-family structure. I can't understand that, why they would ever be against a family structure. So I know the town board puts in a tremendous amount of time, and it's great to hear other people's, beliefs and everything else, but our town is a wonderful town, and I totally believe that blue lives matter and all lives matter.
Anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Name, Lisa. Last name is King. K-I-N-G.
We got that one. That's
okay. So I'm just here. I know Mr. and Mrs. Steger had stopped earlier, and they, again, thank you for making the correction. As members of the community for 45 years, they felt it was important to address this error. On June the 7th, Mr. and Mrs. Steger submitted a letter in opposition of the Black Lives Matter resolution, as opposed to it reading here that they were in support of. With that being said, again, Mr. and Mrs. Steger have asked me to just come up and speak and reaffirm their commitment in the community as community members for 45 years to peace, unity, and collaboration amongst the community. Their email reads, Supervisor Sweden and board members, we are contacting you in regard to the Black Lives Matter resolution that was written about in a letter to the editor in last week's advertiser. We strongly oppose and discourage you from passing any legislative action that further divides us like the Black Lives Matter movement has done around our nation. This resolution falsely accuses the Warwick community of systemic racism. This is offensive and disgraceful. With over 40 years of experiences living in Warwick, we've witnessed that both citizens and elected leaders work together respectfully, peacefully, and across all political divides to create a community with equality for all. What is needed for those 18 individuals who drafted this resolution is to take the Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream to heart, not judged by one's color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And you, our elected officials, please be reminded that you represent the majority of fair-minded Warwick citizens who are accepting of all people. Respectfully submitted, Mr. and Mrs. Steger.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
I just will make one statement there. We represent everybody, and we try to fairly do that. And we have over the past 20 years that I've been in this seat. So we do try to, we don't ask what party you're in, we don't ask who you are, where you came from, how many years you lived here. We try to do what's right for you as a taxpayer living in this community. Anyone else with? Yes, sir.
Evening, everyone. Tom O'Brien.
O'Brien?
O'Brien, yep. E-N. I'm first generation. My parents are from Ireland right off the boat. My father was one of 12. My mother was one of 8. It wasn't much money. My mother said she left Ireland because it wasn't good to her. And I understand the immigrants coming here and everything else. All fair. But my parents never asked for anything, I'm sure, just like a lot of other immigrants here. They worked. My father became a city police officer with up to a 6th grade education, raised 6 kids. There wasn't much money there. My brother was the only one that went to college, and he became a state trooper, and my other brother John's an Orange County sheriff, and you know, my parents did very well under the circumstances, but there was never any help. So when you're going to take from somebody and give to another, take away from somebody to give somebody, it's not right. You know, and Black Lives Matter, when it first started out, yes, there was a large movement. Everybody saw some injustice, this, that, and the other, and they agreed that there needed to be some reform, the proper reform, not stripping the cops, not putting the cops in danger or any of that stuff. So, especially on the other side, none of us got any help to go to college. You know, and my kids, I put 3 kids through college, well, really 2, but one got an ROTC scholarship to go to RIT. He didn't like it. You know why? It was too much liberalism. And he dropped out. Yeah, and there's a kid who had a gifted brain. You know, so nobody should be forcing theirs. And I'm just going to go on one more thing about segregation. I'm in the Plumbers Union down in, you know, the Westchester, Putnam, Dutchess, and Ulster County. And whenever there was an election in my old plumbing local, 209 in Yonkers, there was an Irish business manager and an Italian guy who was running for it. And how did that get separated? The Italian, the Irish, and the local. So you're always going to have some kind of separate people being separate because of whatever they think. But they got to look down in the hearts of the individuals and vote that way for the people and follow them. Don't want to go down a bad path. So I babbled enough over here, but I do want to say thank you for the time and everybody for coming out as well. We can find a common ground on everything. We don't need hatred. And so as far as doing the right thing, helping a person, maybe if a kid is coming from a broken home, he's going to need some help to be guided, not to go down a bad path.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak tonight? Mr. Columbia coming up? No. Gentleman in the back with the W on his hat.
Hi, my name is Phil Darcy. I wasn't even planning on coming, let alone speaking.
Just spell your last name.
Darcy is D-A-R-C-E-Y.
What was your first name?
Phil.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of my coaches for T-ball mentioned she was swinging by, but she just had to duck out. So none of my statements are reflective of the Warwick Little League. Let me start by saying that.
Okay.
So I just took notes right as everyone was speaking. My favorite saying applies to this scenario. Common sense is not that common. With all the BLM and CRT being thrown around, cancel culture has to go after Martin Luther King now. All of this is the exact opposite of all his teachings. It's not the color of your skin that defines you, it's the content of your character. The problem with the left, though, they come out, they cannot say that because they hate it. They need to group people by race. Yet again, the do as I say, not as I do mentality. The stats can be skewed in any way, right? 96% of the protests were peaceful. 20 people were murdered during those protests. We don't want to talk about that, right? Billions of dollars in damage. Just ignore that because the 96% is positive. BLM is a terrorist organization, and us teaching that or accepting it is crazy. That doesn't mean that I don't like black lives, that nobody should be the victim of police brutality. They have not given any of the funds to victims of police brutality. They don't care when it's black on black crime, right? Antifa is just an idea. I do, however, agree with Joan and Patricia on one topic. Systemic racism is currently in America. It's called the 1994 crime bill passed by Joe Biden that targeted minorities as super predators and gave them harsher sentences for petty low-level crimes. In conclusion, I'm not telling anybody here how to think or act, but instead of the groupthink, we should be treated as individuals. A poor white person doesn't have any privilege over a wealthy black person. Lastly, we need to unmask our kids because it's absurd that we tolerate a sexual predator governor acting like a dictator and telling us what to do.
Hi, my name is Laura Giantonio, Giantonio. So basically, I'm just going to say I come from a very blue family. My father was NYPD, my grandfather, my father's brother, my mother's father, my mother's father's brothers were all NYPD. So I'm a very blue in the blood. And I disagree with one of the gentlemen said something that BLM, when it first came into fruition, was for a good cause. No, it was not. From the moment they came into fruition, their first words were marching in the streets of New York City saying that cops were pigs and they need to be fried like bacon. And literally, I think a day or two later, 2 NYPD detectives or cops were killed point blank in their heads on the street. So BLM, no, they were never a good cause. They had never had good intentions, and they have never had intentions to help black people. They have done nothing for black people, zero. They don't donate money to the black people. They don't help children. They do nothing. They take the money and they donate it to the Democrat Party. Period, end of story. That's where the money goes. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm being I'm just being truthful. So, I don't support BLM in any way at all. I think anybody who does is intellectually dishonest because they're not facing the facts of what they really stand for, and I absolutely object to any BLM being put into our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak this evening? All right, seeing no other public comment.
Yeah, wait 1 second.
Okay.
My name's Pat Rooney, R-O-O-N-E-Y. Pat's kind of easy. There's a couple of things. Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, okay? They're the racists. Your president, Biden, he didn't want savages going to school with his kids. That's racist, but everybody praises this guy. I'll believe white privilege exists when America has all of the following: a white caucus, white entertainment television, white-only scholarships, white lives matter, white-only clubs, white-only colleges. They're the racist. I ain't apologizing for being white. I was born this way. My mother and father broke their ass to raise my brothers and me. So this whole thing, Black Lives Matter, it's a joke. Juneteenth is made up. Juneteenth is another joke. All of these holidays are worst enemy. George Floyd, they put George Floyd.
This resolution.
Not done cutting the ribbon, and there were shots fired, and a black guy was killed. But guess what? Another black guy. When that all ends, we can have this conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You want to speak? Your name, please?
Hey.
Richards?
Richie, R-C-H. My thing for the kids. I can speak about that now.
Yeah. Just speak on the issue. Okay, so go ahead.
So, tax rate, Park, There's a lawyer and, okay, these school board, mandated these masks, held accountable. They've done in Westchester years as a super, 15 years as a landfill, 30 years of hazmat. You can't put a mask on a person. You put a I take my oxygen thing, I put it here, I get 21.1 oxygen. I put that mask on, my meter goes off in 15 seconds, reduces that by almost 17%. So now these children in all these schools, reducing their oxygen, giving them brain damage, and then the bacteria on their mask are getting into their lungs. And every one of these people are going to be accountable.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other last-minute comments by anyone? Yes, sir. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Jackson. I have been a member of the Warwick community for 17 years now. We have raised 3 of our children here in the community. They've all gone through the schools here in the community. This issue of racism really troubles me a bit, and the inequities that some folks raise is a bit troubling. Now, maybe I've been blind, and I haven't had that experience, or I haven't seen it and don't know anyone who has seen it. But I really have a lot of concern when the community is coming to our leadership in the political offices, asking for them to weigh in on social or racial issues. And why I say that is for a number of reasons. First of all, for me, from what I've seen in this town, I have not seen racism. Yes, I am white, and the majority of the folks in this town happen to be white. But what we've preached in our household is that everybody is an equal. Our children do not know to look at a person's skin and to think less of them or think differently of them. All 3 of my children, 2 of them which have already graduated from the high school, have numerous friends, some their best friends, who are people of color. We have my daughter who recently got married, and she voted to take in coworkers, limit of 50 people at the wedding because of COVID. She took in coworkers who are Black, Hispanic, and Asian over family members. So if that doesn't tell you or give you a little insight to the thought process of our children and what we've raised them to believe, then I don't know what else will. When you look at where we live in town here, on our street, we have a number of families that are various different colors, backgrounds. None of us, as far as I know, treat each other in any disrespectful way, no matter what anybody says. We are all very respectful and helpful to our neighbors, all of us. Being a father of 3, I know the importance of looking out for your children. I also, now that my children are older, I take it upon myself to look out for my neighbor's children. So I know that our kids happen to, on our street, ride bicycles, out playing in the street, go around the block, and many times are not in sight of adult supervision, specifically the parents. So I myself take it upon myself to always look and see that they're okay, that somebody is watching out for them, that there's not a car coming that's going to hurt them, that there's not a car that looks suspicious. So it's very troubling that there are some folks that consider, that it's necessary that we have to continue to promote this anti-racism. Mr. Sweeten, you opened up tonight's meeting talking about the town and how the values of the town it's common sense. Most everybody in town has common core values. A number of people have said it tonight. It's really simple. It's a golden rule. You treat everyone with respect. You look after your neighbor. It's that simple. So to try and put into what a lot of people, and I agree with, are putting in racial ideas and division, I'm not sure, number one, that that's a decision for the town to make. I think it's the community and the people here to make those decisions. But I think that that's a very, very treacherous slope to be going down.
So again, for me, I agree with the decision to not entertain this resolution, although I will say, I should have started off saying, I don't know what's in that resolution exactly, or what's behind it, the thought process, and the other points behind it, because it's very vague at its best here. So again, I just want to applaud the decision of not invoking this resolution. And if there's anyone who is opposing to my ideas or thoughts, I'm willing to leave my phone number with the town supervisor. You can call me at any time. I'll gladly sit with you. A number of other people have said that here tonight. We're not here to be divisive or combative in any nature, any way. We're more than happy to see if there are true problems, talk to us. We're willing to sit and fix those problems. Nobody here, I think, believes that we should mistreat somebody else because of their background. Thank you.
Sir, Sir, before you go, it was heartening to hear your story about people in your neighborhood and raising and watching out. 60 years ago, I came here and lived with an adopted family, and in that neighborhood, everyone looked out for you. So it's kind of heartwarming to know that that still exists in this great town. So thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment this evening? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that I'm open to meeting and talking to anybody here. So Supervisor Sweeten, if you would.
We'll take some after the meeting. We'll adjourn. We'll get some contacts, and hopefully tonight is a dialogue beginning to understand where everyone does come from, and see if we can't continue to make this a great place to live and raise your family. So there is a motion on the table. It's first and seconded. I'd like a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carried. I'd like a motion to conclude the meeting this evening.
Motion adjourned.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for
Thank you
coming
all
out
for coming.
tonight. Appreciate it. You want to get the gentleman, this gentleman? Can we get contact?